Alright, got these roll pins out. I just pulled them out there. Got that's bolt out. So you take this bolt out, you can just pull this right out of there. Get this out of the way. That frees everything up. Next, if you want to do, I got this roll pin out. Took that out obviously before. You can just turn this out of the way and then just wiggle it. Pull that right out. This fork is going to come right off. 5th gear. So got that off. Then this should. All right, this will slide off because I have this bearing off already. But this bearing would really be on there. I'll show you how to get that off. But what you would do, I actually kind of want to keep that on there, but whatever. So you pull this out, just slide this whole shaft, this whole rail right off of everything off of here. So you slide this all out, just like this. I can do it with one hand, but okay, slide that off. As soon as it comes out of the case, it should just lift right up. Boom, there you go. Got the shift forks off. Now this is 4th and 3rd. See how this is all broken? Yeah, right there, and that's all it was shifting from. This one's pretty worn. You can see the brass. So then this bearing would be on there, so you could just take this and pull it off. Next, what you would do, this bearing would be on there, just like that. And then there's these 2 half clips that one just fell out, but I'll try and put it back in. There's these 2 half moon clips on there that hold that. But anyways, with that bearing there, it's not going to work. But I'll pull this back to show you. This clip snap ring is right there. You pull this snap ring off, pull this back. These 2 half moon are there. They'll come off. And let me pull this off. Boom, those come off, and then this is obviously still sitting on there. I don't want to press it on, but what you do, you get your puller, put it behind here, like that. Got the other end. Boom, pull that off. I'm sure you know how to use your gear puller, figure that out. Alright, so then next what we have to do is take off these collar or reverse. Gotta take this off. This will come right off. You gotta get a puller to pull this off, and then this off. Actually, we can pull off. Here, I'll come over on the other side. We can pull off this gear. This is the reverse idler. In order to get reverse, here's how reverse works. If you were to spin this against there, they would be going forward speed. So as this gear rotates this way, it's rotating clockwise, it's turning this counterclockwise. This gear. That's your forward gears. It's not touching, but so by having an idler, you're turning this one clockwise. This one's turning counterclockwise. Your idler is turning counterclockwise, which in return is turning your main shaft gear clockwise, and that's reverse. That's how that works. But anyways, these are you gotta look. You can see how there's grooves in there. They're one-sided. See how that's a flat surface, so it can only go on one way, but make sure you have it the right way. And if I believe you just spin this right off, look at that's your idler. It'll come right off along with your bearings, and you also have a back plate. A black back plate brush washer. You don't want to lose this, and eventually this whole thing is going to come off. So be sure you're very organized with your parts. Take that off. Do it with whatever. All right. So next I'll get this off and get the puller set up and show you that. All right. So we're going to start tearing this tranny apart. I'll probably do a video when I put it back together on how to get the case off and everything, and how to get the shift rail off from the shift linkages and stuff up there. So obviously there's just a roll pin you got to pull out and everything, but first off you want to take these the shift forks off. So what you do is obviously I already have them out, like I said. So you got to drive this with a punch to the other side, and you have to get the punch at the same diameter, because see there's an inner roller pin that you don't want to push that out and mess that up. So you get a punch that's the same diameter as this bigger one, punch it through. You don't want to go all the way, just enough to get out of this rail, because if you go all the way, it'll hit this tooth for third gear, and then you'll be screwed because that'll be pinned against there and you can't really get it out. So you drive that out, so it rotates freely on the rail. You want to take that bolt out, 12 millimeter, just takes it off this fifth gear. Not fifth gear, actually that's reverse, but take that off because that moves this whole mechanism. So take that off, and then the same thing with this roll pin, just drive that down. You can actually just drive that straight through, take it out, don't worry about it. And then there is also a, like I said, I already took it apart, but there's a spring, and I believe there was a ball, yeah. There's a ball, a spring, and then a nut that held this thing. See how that's flat? It just held that from moving back and forth. So you gotta take that out, and then you take this out, that'll slide out. Alright, so what you have here, this is your rear counter shaft. You have this snap ring. You gotta take this off, this groove right here. Now you gotta be very careful, because I stretch this. If you spread it apart too far, it'll lose its strength, and so I gotta get a new one of these. So just be very careful, because all these snap rings are technically one-time use. But this is on there, obviously. I'm not gonna press it on, but let's see, I did this before, and I had a puller with teeth, so you're gonna have to use that, because this, I don't think, yeah, you're not gonna be able to get this in there. So you have to get a puller with teeth, which I have. Pull this off. This is your rear counter shaft. So you got this, what's on the outside, these are all a Pacific width, and you have your thrust washer between your counter shaft, drive, reverse gear. So in order to get this off, we're gonna pull this off. Alright, so I got this gear puller on there. I had to get some 3/8 rod to make some extensions, because the ones that were in the kit weren't long enough. So what you're gonna do, go ahead, pull off this synchronizer hub for reverse. So I'll pull this off, and then this has a bearing under it. This slides right off under it. So you just go ahead, tighten this down, pull this hub right off. I got it apart. As you can see, this teeth are all chewed up in there. That side is nice and flat. See, those are all chewed up. That's reverse. Obviously, it's not synchronized, so there's a bearing. I don't know if this camera's gonna focus, but those are all chewed up. They're real sharp edges, so. But you know, it's reverse. Not really a big deal because it's reverse. So what we have to do next is we gotta pull this gear off the counter shaft, pull this hub off, and we can get this, slide this off, and slide that off. All right, so we got the I just pulled off the reverse gear, driven gear, or drive gear. Sorry, this is a drive gear. So I just pulled this off. Those splines, internal splines, external splines, I just pulled that right off. This synchronizer goes on there like that. Those clips hold it on to move that dog. So that goes like that. You pull the shift collar off, and see how those dogs, or those pins hold that? That's why I'm missing in fourth gear. So that pulls off, there's the hub. So you pull this right off. Here, I'll try and pull this out. See, that's how those pins are held in through that. Or these clips, I should say. So next we got to pull this off. Alright, so I got this puller on the speed gear. As you can see, I got the threaded rod. Now this is under a lot of tension. See how they're bowed in? So it comes, you just gotta make sure, when you get this, make sure these are straight. When you put this on, it's kind of crooked, and these want to actually go toward the center. So you gotta just make sure you hold them out while you tighten this. As soon as you put tension on it, they'll hold themselves there, but it's this will pull right off now. Alright, so I got this speedo gear pulled off that was on there. That came right off. I'll go in there. So now I got a puller, just a 2-jaw puller. Got on the back side, so we're gonna pull this. This is the drive gear for overdrive for 5th gear. So we're gonna pull this drive gear off, and we're gonna, as we pull this off, this shaft right here is gonna come out with it. See how it's notched in there? So that's just gonna come right out with it. All right, so we got this gear off, the 5th gear drive gear. I'll show you. This is right here. So I just pulled that off, so now we got to just press out those shafts. All right, so now what we got to do is we got to press these shafts out, the main and the counter. It's going to be a pain because we have to alternate them between this one and this one, because I would show you, but it's gonna be kind of hard to see. But the way these gears are, you can't just push one out because these shift collars and Synchros and the dog teeth are all going to be hitting each other. So we got to go a little at a time. And the risk with a lot of these trainings is, this is aluminum right here, is when you press this out, this will crack. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Alright, so I got this down just a little bit. You can't really see, but essentially you're pushing this shaft down and then this gear is staying here. We got to pop this out. So I got that down to where I can't go any farther because the dog teeth are touching this counter shaft. So we got to push this down to get that counter shaft out of the way so we can go down with this. So I cut a block 2x4, that way I don't have to keep, you know, switching this up, and makes it faster. Alright, so I just pressed this down as far as I could. Alright, this takes quite a bit of time. Patience, I should say. This was hard to break. I had to put tension on it and let off, put tension on it and let off. Finally, I got it to go. What I ended up doing, I took a piece of steel, set it on top of there. Got to make sure that these cuts are like dead square. And obviously, I mean, just, you know, logic stuff, make sure those cuts are dead square. This is perfectly lined up with that. And so now I'm going to go push this down as far as I can, and should go pretty easy now. This broke loose relatively easy, but this one was, you could really kind of see this, when I let off, you could see this flex back up. And these break very easily since they're aluminum. So just, if you're going to be doing this, you got to be patient, take your time. Alright, so I got it all apart. This is the center housing that the counter shaft and main shaft sit in. When you press it out, I just have this, I got this bearing here holding this up, so I could kind of show you what you're doing when you're pressing it out. As you can see, there's very little distance between this dog teeth, and then that gear, and the same thing with this thrust washer here, actually the torsion bearing, and this gear, same thing here, these dog teeth, in every gear. So what you have to do basically, while you have to press it out little by little, because you have to move this shaft down until it touches that. You can't go any farther. Then you got to take this shaft, push this down until it touches that tooth. Then you got to do this shaft till it moves down there. So you want to do like a centimeter at a time. That's why it just takes time and patience, and you want to be careful not to crack this at all. And so basically what we're doing, I already got these bearings out. As you can see, that was there, and then this plate was actually over this. So you take that off and you can get that bearing out. But that there. So and then I took out the dog teeth. Not the dog teeth. Just the dogs and the spring that hold in these two Synchros. But I'll get into that later. So these are sitting in there like that, and what you're doing is basically this is pressed on to this counter shaft, and then this 5th gear driven gear is sitting on there. and then these shafts are coming up. So what you're doing is you're keeping this here against the bearing and keeping this, and you're just pressing the shafts out of these also. So yeah, so just gotta be careful that you get this down to a certain point. You get these pushed out of the case to a certain point. This gear, this is your clutch gear. It's fourth gear, but it's also another term is your clutch gear. So you got this going down, you got this going down. Kind of hard to do with one hand, but you got this going down, and you got this going down. So eventually, you're gonna have enough room to where these dog teeth are gonna clear this gear. If you're not careful, this will just fall right in the ground. So you gotta. I just put a bunch of bags so that if in case I didn't catch it, it wouldn't hit the ground. So you just gotta be careful about that. And then once you get this out, you're almost home. You just gotta keep pressing these slowly, and basically at this point, all you're trying to get clear is this Torrington bearing. You want to get this clear of this gear, and once you have enough room to where you can wiggle it kind of to the side and clear that, then you can pull this right out, and then or finish pressing that, press that off, and boom, you got it off. And so now we're gonna probably I'll pull all these gears off and replace these Synchros. Alright, so we're pressing this Torrington bearing, this one off of the counter shaft. So just get your small gear puller. With this this first gear, drive gear being in the way, you don't have a lot of surface area to grab this. So just make sure you can get it as tight as possible, but not too tight to where this is clamping on the gear and you're scraping that up. So just press this down, and obviously make sure you're supporting the counter shaft for when that bearing lets loose out of that shaft. Alright, so I got that old Torrington bearing off. I'm putting the new one on. Obviously you have to press it on. So I got this bearing puller. I got the flat side against, you got it all the way tight against the inside race. You don't want it, if you're pressing on a bearing and it's on the inside, you always want to pull and press from the inside race, and if it's held on by the outside race, obviously pull it and press from the outside race. So I got this homemade thing here, just pressing down on this bearing splitter and puller, and that will just press that right on. Alright, so I got this Torrington bearing on now, Torrington bearing. So we're gonna this front one. This is a new one I just took off. This is the old one. It goes on like that, and it's not pressed on or anything. You see, I just popped it off. So all you gotta do is pop it off, boom, pop the new one on, you're done. Alright, so we're gonna pull first gear, synchro, and the sleeve off, or the collar off. This has bearings on it, and this also has a thrust washer. You want to make sure you mark what side is which that way you put it back on the same side. And just pull that off. And then this should just pull right off. Okay. And then these are the bearings.
Surprised I'm not flying off the walls right now, but no, not too bad. Of course, I didn't finish the whole cup. It was pretty bad. Very strong.
Alright, and then you can see how there's a ball in here. You don't want to lose that, so you get like needles, pliers, or something. Pull that out. And this is the Synchro. And then this collar will just come right off. Alright, so we got this, I got that ball out. I took it, found it was easy, just get a magnet, comes right out. So make sure you mark everything where that goes. Next, what we're gonna do is, I'm pretty sure this is, see, this is pressed onto there. So we're gonna leave this hub on, and we're gonna take this hub off. So you can see that a thrust washer here. So this was pressed up against there. So just take like I just got a knife or blade, spread it out, make sure again you mark which side is which, and don't lose it. And then you can see there's a snap ring. We gotta take the snap ring off, and then we'll be able to pull this off. Alright, so we're pressing out this hub for fourth gear and third gear. So what I got is this bearing and gear puller on the back side of third gear, and what we're doing is supporting this, and we're just driving this whole main shaft right down. So just press it down, make sure you got this good and supported. Don't have this too tight to where it's gripping on to I think second gear. There's a collar on the inside, so you don't want the bowler to be scraping on that collar. So just have it loose enough to where there's some room to play. Press this down, make sure you're supporting the shaft, and it should go pretty easy. Alright, so we got that pulled off. This is a race that it was on. These are the splines that the hub was on. So here it is right here. Here's bearings that go on the gear itself. So this is the hub. This is the third gear outside synchro. This is actually a dual synchro. If I could pull this off, which I probably won't be able to do with one hand, but these are actually dual synchroed. See how this is tapered on the outside? Well, it's also tapered on the inside, and you got a synchro on the inside. So as these there would be dog teeth in here, which there weren't because they fell out, but this would go up along there, and instead of just having one synchro, you have two. Better synchronizing and stopping force, I guess you could say, since you want to, in a sense, slow the gear down or match speed. So that's that. So what we're gonna do now is you have this. It's almost like a thrust washer, but it's part of this shaft right there. So I got this puller on the outside of that against second gear, driven gear. And what we have to do, I might heat this up. I'm probably gonna heat this up, and we're gonna press this whole unit right off of this race. So it'd be better if you heat it up. So I'm probably gonna do that. All right, so we got second gear off. This was what was in our way. This was pressed on there, right there, and that ball would keep it from going off. So what I did, I first tried to just press it off alone, but I didn't do it, so I had to heat it up. Once you heat it up, and you got this thing maybe 150 degrees, well, it wasn't even that hot, it popped right out. So that goes there, and this is the second gear that was on there, just like that. It was pressed against that. So, and these are synchros, dual synchros. So all in all, came apart pretty easy, and then this is that's what's left. Everything's all apart in pieces. I got my box in here, just everything's organized and labeled, and all the thrust washers and everything are labeled and what they are. And usually what I do is I mark them. I just put some Sharpie on one side. That's the side you see, so that the other side goes against it, and then make sure I know as long as I see that black, and then I got it on the right way. I just do that with everything, just an easy. There's that little ball that was in there, and then make sure I got that thrust washer on. So as long as you get everything organized, it goes pretty easy. So now honestly, I'll probably just start putting it back together.